Hello friends, my name is Sachin Malik and in this video we are going to learn about passed pawn. A passed pawn is a pawn which cannot be stopped by opponent's pawn. In this case, a pawn is the passed pawn because there is no black pawn on the A file to stop white's pawn, or there is no pawn on the B file to stop white's pawn. So A pawn is a passed pawn. What about the B2 pawn? B2 pawn is not a passed pawn because if you start pushing it, then black's C7 pawn can stop our pawn. So it's not a passed pawn. What about C2 pawn? C2 pawn is also not a passed pawn because if you start pushing it, you cannot make a queen. C7 pawn is blocking our pawn. What about G4 pawn? G4 pawn is a passed pawn because if you start pushing it, there is no opponent's pawn to stop our G4 pawn. So it's a passed pawn. What about H3 pawn? H3 pawn is not a passed pawn because H4 pawn is stopping our H3 pawn from becoming queen. Let's look at from black side. From black side, C7 pawn is not a passed pawn because C2 pawn is blocking the path of our C7 pawn. What about D7 pawn? D7 pawn is also not a passed pawn because this path is blocked by the C2 pawn. What about the E7 pawn? Yes, E7 pawn is a passed pawn because there is no white's pawn on the E file to stop our E pawn, and there is no pawn on the D file to stop our E pawn. And also white does not have any pawn on F file to stop our E pawn. In this position we are white. Can you identify a passed pawn for the white side? Take a look at the D6 pawn. This pawn is free to become a queen. There is no opponent's pawn on these files. So D6 pawn is a passed pawn. What about the C pawn? C pawn is not a passed pawn because this pawn will capture our pawn. So C pawn is not a passed pawn. White has a fantastic way in this position to create connected passed pawns. White can play bishop cross b7. White can sacrifice his bishop. Now black will play rook cross b7. Now all these three pawns are passed pawns. Now we can start pushing our pawns. We can play pawn to c6. Black can play rook cross b4. Pawn to c7. This pawn is about to become a queen. Black prevents it. And now we can play pawn to d7. One of these pawns will become a queen. Black can play rook cross c7. And now comes queen. It's a fork. So after king g7, we can capture the rook also. Let's go back. Two connected passed pawn on the 6th rank are generally stronger than a rook. That's why we sacrifice our bishop so that in the next move we can play c6. We get two connected passed pawn on the 6th rank which are usually stronger than a rook, and that's why we won the game. Passed pawns gives you lot of tactical opportunities. Let's look at the next example. In this position we are white. White has a passed pawn. If we start pushing our pawn, then black can simply block it. If we play a move like h7, then black can simply play bishop d4 and we cannot make a queen. So we have to do something else. Black's defense is this diagonal. If black can get his bishop on this diagonal, then we cannot make a queen. So white plays pawn to e5, sacrificing a whole pawn. If black captures the pawn, then we can play pawn to h7 and our passed pawn will become a queen because bishop cannot stop our passed pawn. Let's go back. After e5, black will play bishop to d4. Then we can play pawn to e6, creating second passed pawn. Now e6 pawn is also a passed pawn because there is no opponent's pawn on these three files to stop our pawn. Black also gets a passed pawn. D pawn is a passed pawn, but black's pawn is far away from becoming queen. Now our threat is to push e7, so black plays bishop f6 to prevent it. Now we can play pawn to h7. Black plays king b6 to bring his queen near this passed pawn. But here white can sacrifice one of the pawns. White can play pawn to e7. Now bishop has to capture it. And we can promote our h pawn. We can make a queen. And white is winning in this position. We are white in this position. Can you identify all the passed pawns in this position from white side and black side? Let's look at the white side first. Take a look at this pawn. This pawn does not have any opponent's pawn on these three files. So it's a passed pawn. Right now this passed pawn is blocked by the queen. Do we have any other passed pawn in this position? Answer is no. All these pawns have opponent's pawn on the same file or left or right file. So these pawns are not passed pawns. What about from black side? Black has a passed pawn on the D file because this pawn does not have any opponent's pawn on these three files, so it's a passed pawn. How should white play in this position? If we want to make a queen, then we have to get rid of this queen. White can play queen cross d6, sacrificing a whole queen. A passed pawn gives you lot of tactical opportunities. Now black has to capture the queen. Now white can play pawn to e7, discover check. Black cannot capture our pawn because it's a discovered check. Black has to protect the king. And then we can push our pawn and make a queen. White is winning in this position. We are white in this position. Can you identify a passed pawn? Yes. F3 pawn is a passed pawn because there is no opponent's pawn in these three files to stop our pawn. So F3 is a passed pawn and so is black's H6 pawn. But here our F3 pawn is very far away from becoming a queen. We can create another passed pawn. We can sacrifice our queen and make a passed pawn. In this position, white played queen check. Black king has only one option. And now white sacrificed his queen. White played queen cross e6. After d cross e6, now the d6 pawn has become a passed pawn because there is no opponent's pawn on these three files to stop this pawn. Now we can play pawn to d7 and in the next move we can make a queen. So white wins this game by sacrificing his queen. We are white in this position. Can you spot a passed pawn? Yes, f7 is a passed pawn because no black's pawn can stop it from becoming a queen. But right now this pawn is blocked by opponent's rook. We cannot turn this passed pawn into a queen right now. But we can eliminate these rooks. White can first play queen cross d8, sacrificing a whole queen. Rook cross d8, and now white can play rook cross d7 check, sacrificing the rook also. Now it's a check and attack on the rook, so black plays rook cross d7, and now this pawn is free to become a queen. White can play f8 is equal to queen. Black can capture our queen. White recaptures. And white has an extra piece. So white is winning in this position. We are white in this position. Right now black is attacking our queen. What should white play? In this position, white played a crazy move. White did not defend the queen. White played pawn to b4. White's idea is, after rook cross c6, d cross c6, white will get these two pawns. For these two connected passed pawn, white sacrificed the whole queen. Let's see what happened in the game. Black played e6 to set his pawns in motion. White played rook e d1, simply activating the rook. Queen to b8 to attack this pawn. White played b cross c5. Here, black played d5. Black wants to open the diagonal of his bishop. E cross d5, e cross d5 and rook cross d5. For the queen, white has rook and 4 passed pawns. And these passed pawns are very dangerous. So, despite a queen down, white is actually winning in this position. It is very hard to stop these passed pawns. Black played queen e8. White pushed the pawn. Queen to f7. Queen is attacking c7 and d5. There is no way for white to defend both the rook and the pawn. White has to choose only one. White played pawn to b6, sacrificing the rook also. Queen cross d5 and now b7. White will make a queen. If rook captures the queen, then white can play c cross b8 and make another queen. And if black plays a move like queen cross b7, sacrificing the queen, then white is winning this position also. Because in the next move, let's say black plays rook to c8, then rook b8, and white is completely winning. Because black cannot play rook cross c7 because of this pin. And if black plays rook cross b8, then white is winning. I hope the concept of passed pawn is clear to you and you understand the power of a passed pawn. See you in the next video.